Welcome to Keystone Cold Cases, a podcast that aims to reignite cold cases across Pennsylvania. We are here to bring attention to the stories that have faded into the background, honoring the victims and their families along the way. Each episode is a step closer to understanding the truth, because every case deserves more than just a passing glance, and every voice deserves to be heard.
Welcome to Keystone Cold Cases. This is Caitlin, and I'm with Shannon here tonight, and we will be discussing the case of Melissa Ortiz-Rodriguez. This case has actually happened in Collingdale, PA. I think this was actually a listener suggestion, and it kind of stood out to me because I work near here, and I'm pretty sure you used to live near here, so... Have you ever heard about this case before?
I have not, but I've been out of Delco for 20 plus years now, so
Got it.
there's not, I don't have too much of a big pulse, I don't have my finger on the pulse of Delco as much as I used to.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this one stood out to me because I was like, oh, I know where that is. So, I don't know, it just made me pick it, but let's get started. So, Melissa Ortiz-Rodriguez, often referred to as Melissa Rodriguez, is a woman who went missing from Collingdale, Pennsylvania on April 19th, 2013. Her disappearance remains an unsolved case that has left her family, friends, and local community searching for answers for over a decade. Her name, Melissa Ortiz-Rodriguez, sometimes listed as Melissa Rodriguez. She was either 30 or 31 years old. Reports vary slightly. She was born around 1982 and 1983. I think there was some reports that said she was 30 and some were at 31, so I wasn't sure. She's a Hispanic female. She stood at about 5 feet 4 inches, and she weighed approximately 130 pounds. She had brown hair. It was dark brown, almost black.
Mm-hmm.
Brown eyes, and she wore eyeglasses. And she was last seen wearing either a yellow flower dress or gray pajama pants and a white t-shirt. I saw reports of both. I think maybe he may have reported that she had either or, and I'm not sure.
Maybe a couple different people said the last time I saw her, she was wearing this, and the other one said the last time I saw her, she was wearing this.
Yeah, maybe, but I saw reports of both, so I'm just listing both.
Yep.
She was the mother of 2 daughters who were 7 and 11 at the time of her disappearance. She lived in the 400 block of Lafayette Avenue in Collingdale, PA. She had recently been trained as an EKG tech, and she was about to start a new job shortly after her disappearance. Let's dive into the circumstances of her disappearance. She was last seen on April 19th, 2013. She was leaving her home in Collingdale, reportedly by her estranged husband, Jose Luis Rodriguez. She had dropped her daughters off at school that morning. She planned to travel to Newark, New Jersey to visit her close friend, Evie Ramos, for the weekend. She was expected to take a train as her car remained parked at her Collingdale residence. So, I do know that Jose worked for Amtrak, so I guess, that's why she was going to take the train. I don't know if she had previously worked for Amtrak, but it seems like there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a lot of there's Amtrak connections throughout the case, I guess you could say.
And I wonder if it's like with airlines, how you can get my mom worked for the airline, and you could get a buddy pass for family that was really cheap, but you had to fly standby. So I wonder if they had something similar with Amtrak where family and friends could, get discounted train tickets.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine that's why she was planning to take the train. So,
right.
So she was going to head to Newark to visit her friend. Her last known contact was on April 18th, 2013. Melissa spoke with Evie around noon, confirming her plans to visit Newark and stay with Ramos for the weekend. I'm curious to see what day that is, actually, because...
Do you know if she was planning on taking the kids with her? Or were
I
they
don't think
staying with
so.
him and she was just going alone?
It seemed like they were staying with him because she was supposed to pick them up from school when she returned. So it felt like, to me, that they were staying with him. So it was a Thursday. I found it on the calendar. It was a Thursday.
Okay.
It was the last time she talked to Evie, saying that she was coming for the weekend. Ramos was expected another call from Melissa on the 19th to arrange a pickup, but it never came. So sometime from the 18th to the 19th, no call ever came. Jose Rodriguez claimed he spoke to Melissa over the phone on April 19th. Those cell phone records later contradicted this, showing no calls between them that day. Jose Rodriguez reported her missing on April 23rd, 2013, 4 days after she was last seen. He stated he became concerned when she didn't pick up their children from school on the 22nd, and then she didn't start her new job as scheduled. So she was about to, start her new job, that day, I believe, on the 23rd.
Okay.
He claimed he last saw her on the 19th and had no contact after she failed to respond to a text on April 21st. Melissa?
So...
Okay.
I'm sorry, do you know if cell phone records confirmed that he sent her a text that day? Since we know he didn't call her when he says
it didn't.
They did.
I didn't find anything that mentioned it, but I feel like, if he is a suspect, maybe he sent a text that,
Right. If he did something, he sent a
Mhm.
text to establish some sort of
alibi or whatever.
weak-ass alibi.
So, Melissa and Jose were actually estranged. They were in the process of separating at the time of her disappearance. They were still living in the same house intermittently, though Jose sometimes stayed elsewhere. Their marriage was troubled, with police having responded to the homes multiple times for domestic disputes. In early April 2013, which this is crazy to me, and I'll tell you why in a second, Melissa discovers Jose had fathered an infant son with another woman, which led to a confrontation. She was considering divorce and had begun seeing another man. Melissa had filed for a protection from abuse order against Jose in February 2013, though it was reportedly denied. So I did see that it was denied, and then I also seen that she had canceled it a few weeks later. So I'm not sure which is the real one, but one report said it was denied, one report said she had filed it, but then, canceled it. So what's crazy to me about this is that he was dating this girl who he had a kid with for quite a while, a good year. So they were together for a year before she found out about this child. It might even been longer than a year for all I know, you know what I mean? But at least a year. The baby was just born in that April. I'm not gonna say her name or anything because I've read that she may have been victimized by him too, so I don't want to put anything out there, but I did find the person, a pretty white woman with red hair, very hippie lady. She has hippie vibes, Grateful Dead, likes tie-dye. She seemed like a nice pretty girl, and you could see that they had been talking for a while, because at one point in comments, now it seems like he deleted all his social media because I could find her speaking with him, it looked like, in comments, but him not there, I guess. And then at one point she says she has a picture of her with a ring, and they're like, oh, so pretty, and she's like, oh, it's the ring Jose gave me a long time ago, last winter. So it showed they had been together for quite a while, and they just had a baby together. Shortly after reporting Melissa missing, Jose put the family home up for sale and moved with their daughters to Ocean Township, New Jersey, where he lived with his girlfriend and their child. It also seemed as though, like, she worked with him. I guess that's how they met. And
I'm sure he gave the whole song and dance of "my wife doesn't understand me" and blah blah blah, and sucked her in, and this
yeah, or
his actions just
or if she even knew about her
guilt.
for a while. Who knows if she even knew about her for however long.
True.
And I will say she did post. It looked like at least once, asking, like, a picture and asking for information. So I thought that was, nice of her.
Yeah.
Now, on to the investigation timeline. On April 23rd, 2013, like I've already said, Jose reports Melissa missing. Police begin canvassing the neighborhood, contacting her friends in Newark, who confirmed she never arrived. From April to May 13th, police note inconsistencies in Jose's account. He claimed he left for work early on April 19th as an Amtrak engineer, but cell phone data placed him at the Collingdale home at noon. He also told police he spoke to Melissa by phone, but records show no such call. Neighbors reported Jose told them that Melissa had actually been found shortly after her disappearance, which was obviously not true. And a co-worker also noted Jose borrowed a mop and cleaning supplies from their Amtrak office that weekend, raising suspicions. Over 20 search warrants had been issued. Police checked his E-ZPass records. They searched his Amtrak-issued work truck that they seized in late April from Jersey to check its GPS. And they searched his cell phone to look for evidence, but no significant findings were reported at the time. On June 24th, 2013, acting on a neighbor's tip about Jose digging in the backyard the night before Melissa was reported missing, police excavated the yard at the Lafayette Avenue home with cadaver dogs and equipment. Nothing had been found, and Chief Robert Adams stated they could confidently rule out her body being on the property. There has been some updates since her disappearance. On December 2016, after the Collingdale home went into foreclosure, police gained access from the bank. Cadaver dogs indicated possible human remains in the basement where a fresh cement job was noted. Excavation on December 27th revealed nothing after digging through a 6-inch cement slab in 12 to 18 inches of soil. The next day, ground-penetrating radar was used in the yard, again yielding no results. So they couldn't find, obviously, anything on the property, but the dogs did hit at indicating possible human remains in the basement. So,
and maybe this is just like, bias on the part of a lot of shows that I've watched that where the police use cadaver dogs. It doesn't seem like when they hit on something that there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But
usually,
I don't know.
Something could have happened down there, and they could have smelled decomposition. Because dogs can smell things that were gone and cleaned up. You know what I mean? They can smell cancer, so their noses are crazy. Despite extensive searches, including the home, Jose's truck, and his New Jersey residence, no physical evidence of Melissa has been found. Jose stopped cooperating with police early on and retained attorney Michael Diamondstein, who noted that search warrants suggested police viewed Jose as more than a witness, though he was never officially named as a suspect. I mean, that's just obvious, though. He's the last person to see her. They have an estranged marriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's the spouse. Duh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Captain Obvious. You're a really bang-up attorney, aren't you?
And they just found out he fathered a child with another woman at the beginning of that month. Yeah. So, I mean,
Come on.
On April 19th, 2014, friends and family held a vigil outside the Collingdale home on the 1-year anniversary, releasing purple and white balloons and lighting candles. On April 19th, 2023, a candlelight vigil marked the 10-year anniversary, with loved ones expressing hope for resolution. Melissa's mother, Olga Ortiz, had passed away 3 years prior, circa 2020, from a heart attack, reportedly exacerbated by the stress of her daughter's disappearance, without ever getting answers, which, that's just sad to think. I can't imagine losing a family member and not knowing what happened to him. I feel like it would, just be constantly on my mind, wondering where they are and what happened.
Especially your child. I mean, any family member, absolutely, but your child.
Yeah.
And knowing what she was going through with this man is just got to be a whole other level of anguish.
Yeah. And I also, I went through Reddit and found some recent posts about the story, actually, and her sister was actually, I think actually both her sisters were in the comments. Somebody was talking in there saying, I don't want to say what they were saying because it could just be anything, but they were, saying a theory, and they were like, oh, this is her sister, can you message me, So
right.
They're obviously still paying attention constantly to everything going on, trying to figure out what happened to her. So it's sad to think about, but Evie Ramos described Melissa as a loving, laughter-filled mother who would never abandon her children. Melissa's sister, Anna Camacho, said in 2014, I don't want to believe she is dead, but I don't believe she is walking around breathing the air and not seeing her kids. This is just not Melissa. Her uncle, Edwin Ortiz, echoed this sentiment in 2023, emphasizing her devotion to her daughters. In late 2021, it emerged that Jose had been charged with stealing $76,000 worth of equipment, chainsaws, and other items. Why would, I guess Amtrak has, from Amtrak.
Sucks.
Amtrak got, chainsaws and all these, what, I don't know why they have chainsaws. I guess maybe they have to, chop down trees that grow into, the railroad tracks.
Yeah, they probably have to clear tracks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but he stole $76,000 worth of equipment from Amtrak. They only list chainsaws and other items, so who knows? But between 2012 and 2020, reselling them online. This came to light during, which is kind of I guess the word I'm gonna use, ballsy, knowing you're being watched by the cops because you're a suspect in the disappearance of your wife, and you're stealing from your job and selling it online.
Yeah, a whole lot of hubris going on there.
This came to light during Corporal Crozer's review, but hasn't been directly linked to Melissa's case. Melissa's daughters, now in their late teens or early 20s as of 2025, were interviewed by police in April 2013, but provided no definitive clues. Their grandmother, Olga Ortiz, was granted visitation rights, thankfully, in family court after Melissa's disappearance, but struggled to see them due to the lack of Jose's cooperation. So I guess she still didn't get to see them that much.
Yeah, well, he wasn't, he was really quick to move them out of that house, too, so... Yep. He's not surprised.
Melissa remains listed as a missing person on NamUs, case number MP20481. No suspects have been named, and the case is considered cold but active, with police urging anyone with information to come forward. Many, including Evie Ramos, believe Melissa was met with foul play, given her strong ties to her children and the inconsistencies in Jose's statements and behavior. The false claims that she was found, cleaning supplies, moving quickly after her disappearance, and also due to his new relationship and child with another woman. Police have not ruled out the possibility that Melissa left voluntarily to escape an abusive relationship, though her friends and family strongly dispute this, citing her attachment to her daughters and lack of contact since. The lack of body
I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. The lack of body or physical evidence has stalled any potential arrest, a common challenge in missing persons cases. Authorities continue to seek information. Anyone with details is asked to contact the Collingdale Police, 610-586-0502, and ask for Corporal Pat Crozer, or Delaware County Detective, 610-891-4700. And I also just wanted to throw out a couple domestic violence facts out there, just to inform people.
Sure.
We hear so many cases that involve domestic violence, so I thought it was important to actually share some important facts about domestic violence. Prevalence: approximately 1 in 3 women, or 33%, and 1 in 4 men, about 25%, in the U.S. experience physical violence, sexual violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. About 41% of women and about 26% of men report significant impacts from intimate partner violence, also known as IPV, such as injury or psychological harm. And also, and this is just my opinion, but I think you could talk to anyone and at least somebody, even if it's not reported, has some kind of experience, like similar to something along those lines, like stalking or, just like a controlling partner or something. Everyone I've talked to at least has some kind of, maybe not physical violence, but some kind of story that involves
Yes.
it.
Yes, I actually know a man that is going through that type of
wow. And
IPV, as you called it, because of the end of the relationship, but they're still similar to what was going on in this case. They are still living together because of the children, but he's still subjected to the outbursts and whatnot, and it's just
awful.
it's not great, obviously, but like you also need to you need to put those damn kids first, man. People like
Yeah.
the kids gotta come first. You don't have to like each other, but you can't beat the crap out of each other
In
when you have
front of your
children,
kids.
and yeah, it's just they're causing levels of trauma that are going to take years to
Fix.
heal.
Yep. Underreporting. Domestic violence is significantly underreported due to barriers like fear, shame, lack of access to services, or like status. If you're at a job and somebody's like higher than you, or somebody has money, and there's so many different reasons. Actual incidents are likely much higher than reported figures. Impact on specific groups. Women are at a higher risk. Women are 7 to 14 times more likely to report severe physical assaults by an intimate partner compared to men, which I think is obvious. Men, I feel like, don't really, because of like how men are perceived, like they're tough. Like I don't think they want to report something like that, so I can definitely see that.
Right, they might feel embarrassed or emasculated, and you got to put that thought out of your mind and do what's right for you, because you don't know when it's going to escalate to the point of no return.
Yep. Pregnant women. 4 to 8% of pregnant women experience abuse during pregnancy, and homicide is the leading cause of death for pregnant and postpartum women, with intimate partner violence as a significant factor. Marginalized groups have there's a higher rate. Multiracial, 56.6%, Black, 45.1%, Native, 47.5%, and disabled, 54% women experience higher rates of IPV.
Wow.
Firearms and risk. The presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by at least 400 to 500%. Over 50% of IPV-related homicides involve firearms. It's crazy,
staggering.
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. The number is surprising, but the gun being in the house and attainable when someone's having that period of, I guess rage is the best way I can
I was shocked by that percent
define
too.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Economic and social costs. Intimate partner violence costs the U.S. over $8.3 billion annually, including medical care, mental health services, and lost productivity. Victims lose about 8 million days of paid work each year due to abuse.
Wow.
Impact on children. An established 3.3 to 10 million children witness domestic violence annually, doubling the likelihood that boys will become abusers as adults. I don't know what the likelihood of girls, but it didn't say. I didn't find
Yeah,
it, but
I don't know. I don't know, but on the flip side of that, you're letting your children know that it's acceptable to be treated that way or to
yeah.
treat somebody that way.
Yeah.
So you have to really think about that. And I'm not trying to, judge or shame anybody. I know the situations are tough. They're hard to leave, especially if you don't have resources. But the like you said, the impact on the children is just
You may be
wow.
teaching your child that it's okay to tolerate something like
Right.
that when they shouldn't,
Yeah. Yep.
Leaving an abuser. Leaving is the most dangerous time for victims, with a 70-fold increased risk of murder in the weeks following separation. On average, it takes about 7 attempts for a survivor to permanently leave an abuser.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me either, and I think it's shocking. So, shocking to people that it's so hard for people to leave. But I mean, if what's going on right now, this Diddy case, I don't know if you've been listening to it, but it's almost crazy to hear. Even after him and Cassie were broken up, she went to her best friend and asked her best friend, "Hey, I'll pay you this money to not say anything." And they weren't even together, but, if you think about it, somebody with that much influence and money that has caused that much fear over you, you're almost probably scared that if your friend doesn't drop it, that he might try and hurt them or something. You know what I mean? So, I think a lot of people are like, how could she do that to her friend? But I don't think people see from the other side of it, where, she had seen Diddy, throw a Mazel Tov cocktail or whatever at Kid Cudi's car. It blew up. He was not afraid to hurt other people,
Right.
And not only that, he threatened Cassie's parents, saying he would release a sex tape of them if they didn't pay him $30,000, and they had to take out a loan and pay him. It was, just so awful, but, to hear that somebody with that much power and money, you don't really have other options, you know what I mean? He has...
Yeah, and...
There's nobody who's going to take your side, in a situation like that.
Right, exactly. I think we've seen so many celebrities do these, heinous things to other people and, get away with it because they can buy their way out of it. And it's sickening. And it certainly isn't, it's not going to bring people forward.
Yeah, and people just love them so much that sometimes it doesn't even matter what they do, that people still will stick up for them, or you know what I mean? If you have that much influence, I just feel it's hard to stand up and go against somebody, especially with that kind of power. I mean, like, this guy was partying with Prince Andrew and, you know, high figures. Like, it's hard to be like, okay, I'm the only person going against him. I feel like she was more so trying to save her family and friends rather than, like, betray them, I guess. And it was just kind of sad to listen to because it was just awful. Like,
yeah.
And then it really makes me wonder, like, his wife who died, the other woman that he was married to. It's like,
oh yes,
you know what I mean? Then you're like really starting to question everything.
Right?
Not allegedly, like, I'm not saying that, but, you know, it's definitely now, it's like, now that you know what happened with Cassie, it's definitely in your mind, like, could something have happened there? But and on to, speaking of the devil, domestic violence related homicides. Overall statistics in the U.S., about 1 in 5 homicide victims, 20%, are killed by an intimate partner. So 1 out of 5 people who are killed by their husband or their wife, like their intimate partner.
Yep.
In 2021, of the 4,970 female homicide victims, 34%, approximately 1,690, were killed by an intimate partner. For the 17... Now, this is crazy how much of a difference in female and males, but the 17,970 male homicide victims, 6%, approximately 1,080, were killed by an intimate partner. Nearly 50...
You know, considering that number, I mean, 6% doesn't sound a lot, especially in relationship to that number of male homicides, but that's still a significant number.
Yeah.
Because most men are like maybe victims of crime or a dispute, a fight gone wrong, like something like that. But when you're saying like 1,000 killed by an intimate partner, and then you go back and maybe think, oh well, look at all these women. There's like the whole show dedicated to women who kill on Oxygen or one of those, So it does happen, just not as much as you think.
I live in like right outside of King of Prussia. And recently there was a woman who killed her husband, and then she drove to her son's work and pointed a gun at him, and he was able to wrestle the gun away from her, and then she left and I guess, unalived herself and was found down on Kelly Drive. And then there was another woman, I think, in, like, the Roxborough area who killed her husband, too, recently. There was, like, not that, just in the past, like, couple months, so.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I was, like, shocked. I'm like, wow, what is going on? Nearly 50% of female homicide victims and 10% of male homicide victims are killed by intimate partners. Firearm involvement. Over 50% of intimate partner-related homicides involve firearms, with 57.4% of intimate partner femicides committed with a gun. Specific populations: Black women. Femicide is the leading cause of death for Black women aged 14 to 45, with Black women twice as likely to be killed by a spouse and 4 times more likely by a dating partner compared to white women. Latina women. 1/3 of Latina homicides are committed by intimate partners, with 60% involving firearms. Indigenous women, their murder rate is 10 times the national average, often linked to intimate partner violence. Transgender individuals. Between 2013 and 2020, 21% of transgender homicide victims were killed by an intimate partner, with 72% of transgender homicide involving guns. Mass shooting connection. 60% of shootings between 2014 and 2019 were either domestic violence attacks or perpetrated by individuals with a history of intimate partner violence. State-specific data. In Massachusetts in 2022, there were 25 domestic violent homicides. By October 2023, 5 were reported. In Arizona, 96 deaths were domestic violence related. In PA, the past decade, over 1,600 lives were lost to domestic violence incidents. Murder-suicides, 70% of murder, I'm going to say unaliving, involve an intimate partner, with 93% of victims being women and 95% involving firearms. Collateral victims, 20% of intimate partner violence-related homicide victims are not the intimate partner, but the family members, friends, or bystanders, which you hear that a lot too. Like if somebody's dad's there, or mother, or even their children,
right.
You know, like they'll kill the whole family, or, you know, there a lot of times there is multiple victims.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the story of NASCAR driver Jimmy Johnson's his wife's mother killed her husband, her grandson, and herself? I don't know the circumstances around what happened, but
I heard that before.
Like, yeah, that was a few years ago. But yeah, she just took them all out.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, right? Like only
like 2-3 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. And remember, who was it? Chris Benoit, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Goodness. That was awful. That too. He didn't show up for like the that wrestling thing, and they went and did a wellness check and found him and all his family. Or I think I don't remember if he was there or if he left and, you know, unalived himself elsewhere, but I know they had found his family.
Yeah.
Data limitations. Homicide data may be underreported due to inconsistent reporting. Example, male victims, same-sex relationships, or transgender victims. These statistics are drawn from reputable sources like the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Bureau of Justice Statistics. I also got a few regional domestic violence homicide data that I thought was interesting. Oklahoma, the highest lifetime prevalence of domestic violence, 49.1% of women and 40.7% of men. It ranks third nationally for women killed by men in single-victim, single-offender homicides. No specific homicide count for recent years, but high prevalence suggests elevated risk. Kentucky.
Wow.
Kentucky is the second highest domestic violence prevalence, 45.3% of women and 35.5% of men. In 2019, domestic violence program served 1,420 survivors in a single day, with 128 unmet requests due to resource shortages. It ranks 11 for femicides, intentional killing of women or girls. Missouri, domestic violence prevalence, 41.8% of women and 35.2% of men. In 2018, 89 domestic violence-related homicides accounted for 11.47% of all homicides in the state. A 67% increase in domestic violence shooting deaths from 2019 to 2020. I wonder if there was like an increase for COVID. That would be a good thing to look up, because I imagine like so many people were stuck in the house with someone.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You know, like you can't get away from them. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nevada, prevalence 48.1% of women and 30.9% of men. That's high for women. I mean, that's probably like Vegas. I'm sure a lot of stuff happens in Vegas too.
Yeah. And Reno's like similar, like Vegas light.
Oh, here we go. Historically ranked first for domestic violence fatalities and third in 2014. In 2022, Las Vegas reported 1,437 aggravated domestic violence incidents, with an estimated 2,000 after adjusting for underreporting, a 39% increase. Arizona, prevalence 42.6 of women, 33.4% of men. In 2019, 96 deaths were attributed to domestic violence. Ranks among the top 10 states for women murdered by men as of 2010. Massachusetts, In 2022, 25 domestic violence homicides were reported. As of October 2023, 5 domestic violence homicide victims were recorded. And mind you, sometimes this data is like old because it takes a while for them to like compile this data. So, like,
right.
They don't have accurate data for like it takes a couple years. So that's why they're probably like a lot of the data I got was from between like older dates. But Texas, a 69% increase in domestic violence shooting deaths from 2019 to 2020. There we go again. Ranked among the top 10 states for women murdered by men as of 2010. Specific homicide counts vary by county, but data is incomplete. Maryland, a 93% increase in domestic violence shooting. Wow. Again, shooting deaths from 2019 to 2020. That's crazy. A 93% increase.
Wow.
No specific homicide counts available, but the sharp rise in firearm-related deaths indicates significant risk. Utah, a 160% increase in domestic violent shooting deaths from 2019 to 2020. The highest reported surge among states. No specific homicide counts provided. And national trends.
What happened in Utah? Utah's like... It's Utah. It's like, aren't they all... They're like almost all Mormon, aren't they?
I was just going to
like,
say.
My goodness.
But, I mean, you got Lori Vallow, you know, maybe they're... maybe a lot of them are, like religion related, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you ever seen that movie, I think it's called Under the Banner of Heaven, which is about, it's about this very, like, strict Mormon family, and the one son's wife is murdered, and it's a really great show. It was on Hulu, and it stars Andrew Garfield, but it's that one part of the Church of Latter-day Saints where they're following specifically to that founder. Oh, I can't remember his name, but
I know who you're talking
like
about.
who was like one of the polygamy and like all that stuff, and like the women should basically be seen, not heard type stuff. So it was, it was crazy. So yeah, you have a good point if it's kind of like related to that offshoot.
I think some people, like, who take it very seriously, maybe it could make it a lot more emotional for somebody if,
right,
like in situations like that, like for instance the Lori Vallow case where she had, like believed that what's his name, Chad Froggy Daybell, he looks like a frog to me, was that he was like some like sent from God, and that he was telling her that her kids were zombies and they were dark, and she believed that she had to kill, get that her family was demons. Like, she felt that they were demons and they were dark, and that like a demon had taken over their body. So that's what I mean. Like, I feel like people who get really like deep in religion maybe could have things in their life that happen like that where,
right.
Where was I? But so yeah, I just figured I would throw some facts out there because I think a lot of people, like, as much as we hear about it, it's interesting to definitely hear how impactful it is and how often it happens.
Sure.
Melissa Ortiz-Rodriguez disappearance on April 19th, 2013 remains a haunting mystery despite extensive searches and vigils and pleas from her loved ones. No trace of her has been found. Her case highlights the challenges of resolving missing persons cases without physical evidence, leaving her family, particularly her now-grown daughters, without closure. As of April 2nd, 2025, the investigation persists, fueled by the hope that new information might finally reveal what happened to this devoted mother from Collingdale. Again, if you know anything about the disappearance of Melissa Ortiz-Rodriguez, please contact Collingdale Police 610-586-0502 and ask for Corporal Pat Crozier or Delaware County Detective 610-891-4700. And that's all. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
That's all we have for this episode of Keystone Cold Cases podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please consider leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to find out more about this podcast, the hosts, and the cases we cover, or if you want to suggest a case, please visit us at kccpod.com or send us an email at keystonecoldcases@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Keystone Cold Cases and on Instagram and TikTok at KCCPod. Follow us on YouTube at Keystone Cold Cases. Please remember never to reach out to family or friends of the victims, only to law enforcement if you have any tips. This episode was researched and hosted by me, Caitlin. Find all of our sources, social info, and contact information at kccpod.com. Theme music by Darren Mackins and production assistance from Shannon Bickle. Join us again next week for another case to sleuth out.